What's up? This is Chris, and this is This Week in Marketing. As I said, my name is Chris, and every week, well, almost every week, I try to get on the old YouTubes and go through, what I think is some really relevant articles and news as it relates to the world of marketing and business, and really how that ties into kind of small and medium-sized business world. I'm taking, kind of macro level concepts, the biggest headlines, not really the biggest headlines, but like things that I think are important and significant, and translating them into, meaningful information for you, the viewer, whoever you are, which I think this is really directed at business owners, business people, marketing peeps, and all that sort of stuff. Now, this week I'm doing things a little bit different. I'm actually recording this. Usually I do it live. So usually it's like a YouTube live thing, and I like doing the lives and that sort of thing, but there's a reason why I changed it, and or at least I'm going to try this week, is because I think the quality of video is going to be better. So the audio will be better, my face will be better, although you may or may not like that. You might be like, go back to the bad one. I can see you less, right? And also, I think that if I have the files on my machine, now I have like an external hard drive and stuff, so I won't be taking up space on my machine, but I'll have that little kind of hard drive space. I can split out the audio, and if I split out the audio, then I can turn it into a sort of podcast deal, which is what I really would like to do. That was my goal in doing this weekly content, was to kind of polish myself up so that eventually we could get into podcast land, because I really like the idea of audio and maybe getting that onto Alexa and that sort of stuff. So we're getting closer to that, but we're still doing the video thing. Maybe I'll stick with that. Maybe we'll do a combination of like videos and maybe live streams of the podcast. That could be kind of cool, right? But I am still keeping the live thing going because I got Instagram Live up, and so we're over here on Instagram Live, hanging out there. So if you're on Instagram and you're checking this out, I'm doing a recorded video with my screen on it. So as I'm going through articles, I pull up the screen and look at stuff. So it may be a little bit relevant. Now, I'm going to try to read things out as I'm finding them. Thinking ahead to podcast land, you're going to need to kind of hear what's up. You can't really see the screen in a podcast. So we'll have to keep that in mind here as we practice. Now, one more thing before we get into the content. It's the beer, because it is Friday, and it's tradition around here where, I drink a beer while we do this. We unwind a little bit, we relax, and we'll see how far we make it before I start tripping over words. Deal? This week, we're keeping it real basic, and basic is Goose Island. I picked up a six-pack. I was doing something last night, and I picked up a six-pack, and I still have some left over, so I'm drinking that here. I don't got really any major beef with Goose Island. It kind of gets kind of shit on in the beer community as like not craft, even though they absolutely started as craft. But then Anheuser-Busch, I think is the name of the company, the folks that do Budweiser, they came in and bought them up. And really, their Goose Island it's the same recipes and all that sort of stuff, but they're taking advantage of that massive distribution network from Anheuser-Busch. Anyways, we're not here to talk about beer, although I could talk about beer all day. We're here to talk about marketing. And man, it's been a couple weeks since I did a video. Last week I was traveling, and a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. Google had their I.O., big old conference. Facebook has rolled out a whole new redesign of their app, and lots of stuff is going on. So we got to catch up on a couple of things. And I tried to go through as much articles as I could and pick out the stuff that I think is relevant. And we're really talking about two topics today: Google and Facebook, and mostly Google, because Google, is doing some really interesting stuff that I think is going to impact anybody who advertises on Google, anybody who tries to sell products, especially people who do e-com, are going to be impacted by the news coming from Google. So let me flip over my screen to that and show you. So here's the big news. Google is...
Sorry, I can't search the web
Whoa!
on Apple Watch.
just watch. I got this new Apple Watch, and it's doing weird things. I don't even know what. Stop it. Anyways, it's trying to listen to me and do some weird stuff. Anyways, so Google is rapidly adding stores to their Google shopping experience, which has been branded Google Express. Now, they're talking about rebranding to Google Shopping. I think that's probably better. Express, that kind of is meaningless. Google Shopping is a little bit more impactful. And I'm going to read a little excerpt here to give you an idea of what's going on, and then we'll take a look at what Google Express is and give you an idea. So what's going on? According to The Information, which is an article source, that article is behind like a pay gate, so I didn't read it because I'm a cheap fuck. But according to The Information, Google has a plan to challenge Amazon, especially in light of its traditional advertising business seeing slower growth. This plan involves rapidly adding retailers to Google Express, despite recently losing Walmart. Existing partners include Costco and Target, with users able to order from several stores using payment information and addresses already tied to their Google account. It also allows for integration with Google Assistant and voice shopping. So the news is that Google is adding stores to Google Shopping, currently known as Google Express. And what Google Express is this whole entire shopping network where you can go on and search for products and buy products, all using the built-in Google support system, which is kind of neat, especially if you think about how integrated the Amazon Alexa system is to Amazon. Google's saying, hey, we can do that too. Now, what is Google Express? Let's flip over and take a look. So it's like a shopping network, right? So you can come on here and search for all sorts of products. It looks a lot like Amazon, looks a lot like Walmart, and Walmart backed out, I promise you, because they're in the same boat. They're trying to take on Amazon, and Walmart's going to get their ass kicked. I think so. I think they're kind of on a losing battle. But Google, on the other hand, they could pose a fight here, okay? Because Google is way more powerful than Walmart when it comes to this online stuff. And if it's all integrated into the smart home system, that's pretty slick. Now, here is the big thing that's the big difference for Amazon versus Google, or versus the Google Express. It's the retailers. So if you look at all the retailers in here, we got some big ones. Target, Costco, Best Buy. There's a lot of them in here that are kind of these bigger, heavy hitters, right? Now, a lot of these other ones, I've never heard of before. Partybill.com, never heard of that. I don't know how big they are or not. Petco, absolutely never heard of them, right? That's cool. You got a lot of really interesting retailers involved with this Google thing. And if that continues to grow, they continue to bring in more of these medium to big size retailers, that's a different kind of market share than Amazon. Because Amazon is more about the small and medium sized guys, the individual retailers. And that's a big difference. So it'll be interesting to see how this changes. I mean, this list goes on and on and on. Look at all this stuff. I'm sure that some of these are small shops. So what I would be interested in is how you get on the Google Shopping Network. What are the fees like for this? Let's maybe take a look here. It doesn't look like I see anything on here. So, maybe what I should do is a follow-up, just a whole video just on Google Express, because that is interesting. Let me flip back over to me here. I think that's kind of cool. So I would, my clients that do e-commerce stuff, I'm definitely mentioning this. I don't know if we're jumping full feet into it quite yet. I want to learn a little bit more about it first, and then talk about it. But and then maybe get some clients in here. The thing that is interesting about this Google Express is that there's some new advertising channels being opened up. So Google is testing shopping links under YouTube videos. So this is related to Google Express, and here's what's going on. So Google is looking at more options to boost its bottom line, and one of them seems to be shopping links tucked under YouTube videos. The company is running a test where it displays recommended products along with prices on its video sharing platform, according to the information. So it's that article again that's behind the pay gate, and I'm not paying for that shit because I'm cheap as fuck. But anyways, let's read on. It seems some test ads have popped up under Nike videos. Clicking on them would take you to Google Express to complete the purchase. More and more retailers are joining Express, according to the report. We already know that. The company said it is banking on these features to boost its shopping business. So, so this is kind of interesting, right? Like the Google Express. This is why I keep saying it's interesting, because what's going to happen is you're going to have like this fully integrated shopping experience across all Google devices or all Google platforms. So you got Google Search, you got YouTube, you got and the Google Play network. Okay, so having ads all there is one thing, but then seamlessly integrating that into a network that's controlled by Google makes the shopping experience really clean for folks. Now you don't have to link to a website that could or could not be crappy. A lot of, websites that are advertised via the Google Display Network and all that stuff, they're not good. They're kind of shitty. So Google has to regulate all that. That's why you have quality scores and all that sort of stuff in AdWords, because Google's saying, hey, your stuff isn't as good. Now Google's going to control that point to point, so they can literally make the experience as easy as possible for people by being standardized and having like rubrics and formats and all that stuff. Interesting, right? Like, I think there's going to be a rush to get on this Google thing, because I don't see Google messing it up. They don't really mess up a whole lot. Now I say that because Google Plus, not that tight, but when you think about the ad networks and shopping and all that sort of stuff, mostly good stuff coming from Google. So we'll see. Now more Google news, because Google is this highlight here. Before we do that, beer time. All right. So more Google news. Let's get into it. Here's what's going on. Google is pushing back against ad tracking in Chrome. They're saying people prefer ads that are personalized and their needs and interests. So what is this news? Let's read and find out. So today at the I/O Developer Conference, Google announced a new way to limit how much advertisers can track you online. As first reported by the Wall Street Journal, the company is releasing a new set of controls that will allow users to see all of the cookies currently stored by the browser and give them the option of blocking any trackers they don't like. It's unclear how the new controls will work, and the pending interface was not made available to journalists, but the company described it as a new step in how Chrome protects users' privacy. So, first glance, Google is going to give you the ability to go on and flip on and off which cookies are are able to be active on your browser, which is an interesting little thing. Now there's more to this, and I want to get through it and then talk about it. So Google is also pushing back against non-cookie tracking techniques like browser fingerprinting, reducing the amount of passive information that Chrome provides to sites, and taking new steps to fight active fingerprinting techniques. The burp that I just had was not in that quote, so I'm paraphrasing the burp. Continuing to read here. Our experience shows that people prefer ads that are personalized to their needs and interests. Google Engineering VP Prabhakar Raghavan said, I butchered that name I'm sure, in a blog post explaining the shift. He continues to say, but only if those ads offer transparency, choice, and control. Google also released some new transparency tools, and this is the interesting part, designed to work alongside existing features like ad settings and mute this ad. A new open source browser extension will inform users of the various intermediaries that were involved in serving and targeting the given Google ad. Google's going to make this available for various browsers and through open API systems, encouraging other ad networks to support the system. So that's the interesting part, the mute this ad thing. So essentially what I'm hearing is you're going to be able to see an ad and hit a little button that says mute this ad, or this thing's not interesting. Don't let the cookies track me from this particular ad group, which is a whole new thing. So before, I think a few weeks ago, there was news coming out that Google was going to, that maybe they were going to stop doing cookie tracking. And my opinion was that there's no way that's going to happen, because a massive part of Google's revenue comes from ads, and a big chunk of that is from the Google Display Network. So why would they turn that off? But they can't just say nothing. They can't just not have an answer to privacy issues and user experience, because people, and for the most part, they don't want to see ads. They don't like them. So that's why ad blockers and that sort of stuff is available on the Google Chrome and Firefox and these other browsers. So Google has to come somewhere with their response, and where they're finding middle ground here is saying, look, how about this? We'll let you control stuff, because we do think that some ads are good, and I would agree. And I'm saying that as a marketer, and my opinion's biased, but I do agree with that sometimes ads are helpful. We are informed by ads. We're kind of given information about valuable things in the marketplace that can help us live our lives better. And that's done through advertising, so we can't just shut it off. So what Google is going to do is allow us to control what we see and what we don't see. And hopefully that inspires ad companies to do better ads, because people won't turn you off if your ads are legit, if they're relevant, if they're, directed at people that are in your funnel, and are in your, potential buyer base. What I do hope that isn't talked about in this article and I haven't seen anywhere is, me as an advertiser, I want to see that information. I want to be able to look at and go, how many people are turning off my ads? And of those people, what's some demographic information that I could find out? Is it women that aren't liking my ads? Is it women in a certain age group? Is it certain parts of the country? Is there something, a certain city that isn't liking my ad? Or a certain, interest demographic that's turning it off? That would be stuff I would want to know. So hopefully that comes along with this whole rollout with Google and their kind of ad tracking stuff that they're working on. But we'll see. We will see. Now, beer time. Not a bad beer. Let's take a beer break for a second and get back to Goose Island. When I first started getting in craft beer and I really took off with it, I kind of shit on Goose Island too. I was like, it's not really craft. But then I learned a little bit about the company, and I think they made a power move, dude. They made a dope power move. They were like, yo, we make good beer. Budweiser's coming here and they want to give us a shit ton of money, to make beer. Like, why would you say no? I wouldn't say no. Shit, no. I would say yes all day. And more people are going to drink my beer? Absolutely. So I think, Goose Island made the right move. And as far as we know, it's the same beer recipe. Now, I don't know. I don't really remember drinking Goose Island before it was massively distributed, because I'm on the West Coast. So the only time I could ever really get it was after it was massively distributed. This was years ago. So is the recipe different? Is it better or worse now? I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't really know, because you'd have to go find a beer from that time, and even if you did, that beer's going to be way not good. An IPA is only really good for a month or 2, 3 months after it's made before it starts to lose flavor and hoppiness. So you can't go pick up an IPA from 10 years ago and compare it to one now. It's just not even going to be close to the same. You'd have to find the brewer from 10 years ago, which he may even still work there. So, it's impossible for us to tell. And we're just going to have to deal with it. We have to deal with the old Goose Island beer. Okay, enough about beer. Let's continue on about Google. One more story about Google, because I do think that it is interesting and it's going to impact, everybody. This is going to be something, if you advertise on Google, which is, a lot of fucking businesses, this is something that is going to impact you. So let's flip over to it. So here's what's going on. Google is adding augmented reality to search. I'm going to read here. Google is adding 3D augmented reality models to its search results. So you can check out a pair of shoes in the real world while you're shopping online, or put an animated shark in the living room. The company showed off the technology at its I/O keynote, although we still don't know how many searches will end up delivering AR results. At I/O, Google offered a few different examples of how its AR search options might work. If you search for musculature, for instance, you can get a model of human muscles, which you can either examine as an ordinary 3D object on your screen or overlay on a camera feed, letting you see the object in the real world. If you're looking at shopping results, you can preview a piece of clothing with your existing wardrobe. So this is the cool part. I'm excited about the shopping results. So if you're selling shoes, or you're selling, let me flip back over to me. If you're selling anything, theoretically, you could put an AR model of it up. You could do a 3D model of it, and people can look at it with their phone. They can flip around it. They can see it in a 3D complete, kind of view of it, which is really cool. And I think that the companies that do this first are going to win initially, because people, the big thing about buying something online is that sometimes it's hard to see what that actually looks like and what it's going to be like when it gets there. So there's a little bit of hesitation there, especially with clothing and shoes and jewelry and that sort of stuff. So if you could actually get a 3D model of it that you could look at and zoom in and kind of get, a full picture of it on your phone, I bet you'd sell more than your competitor, or you'd be more likely to do that. There's other factors too, like price and shipping and how shitty your website is, that sort of stuff. But I think that's interesting. I want to experiment with it. I want to take a look with my e-commerce clients and look and see what we can do. According to the article as well, they say that Google has some, support tools that developers can use just by adding, the quote here is just a few lines of code. Now, how true is that? First off, you need a developer to do anything with code, unless you are a coder yourself. And we've got to figure that portion out. So my job as a marketer, and I would say our job as marketers in this industry, is to figure that stuff out and bring it to our clients, because the clients that are doing it are going to win, So, all right, that's enough Google news. Let's wrap things up with some Facebook news. And it seems like every week we can't get away from Facebook. It's like always in the news, and it's usually something bad. And we've just got to, keep on going. We're going to keep moving through this Facebook stuff and see where it eventually takes us. So the first thing I want to talk about, this came out last week, but like I said, I was traveling, but I just want to mention it. So Facebook just announced its most significant site redesign in history. This is according to BGR, which I've never read an article from them. I don't even know what BGR is. There's a lot of articles about it. This one just came through. So BGR, you're getting the love. Anyways, earlier today, Facebook announced plans to roll out a complete redesign of its ever-popular website. While website overhauls are not uncommon, Facebook redesigns are particularly intriguing given how widely used the site is and how iconic the overall look and feel. Dominated by blue tones has become over the years. So I didn't say that sentence at all well, but essentially what Yanni Hessler is saying here from BGR is it's kind of unprecedented that Facebook is going to do a major overhaul, because we've gotten used to this whole blue thing. What's changing with this Facebook redesign is that the blue's kind of going away. They're making it like clean and simple, and like groups are taking precedent. Did I say that right? Precedent? I don't know. Groups are the front and center thing on the new design. And, by now the rollout has happened. It's on my phone. It's on a lot of people's phones. I'm not sure if there's anybody that doesn't have it yet. But it is new and it's out. Now, I tried to do some looks at some opinions, some early thoughts on it, and there's not a whole lot going on, on Twitter and that sort of stuff. There aren't really any articles yet on opinions and what people are thinking overall. But we'll see. So I kind of mentioned this because it's a big rollout and it's a big thing, and Facebook's been under fire lately, and they've been losing users, especially in the U.S. Now, they're gaining users in certain areas kind of globally, but Facebook in the U.S. is losing users, especially in the younger demographics. So having an interface that's a little more simple, a little more clean, is starting to look like other apps that are popular, like Instagram, Snapchat, some of those. And we'll see how well this is received. Now, is the new redesign going to attract new visitors? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that anybody new that's in that age grouping that we talked about, like the younger demographics, like 12 to 24, I think they're already not attracted by Facebook, and having a new interface doesn't push the meter far enough. If anything, this makes the experience better for people that already use Facebook a lot. Which is who? I don't know. Who uses Facebook a lot these days? I don't know. But, if they can improve the experience for the users, they can kind of improve that life of the user. If anything, they're playing the attribution game, or the, attrition game. They're playing the attrition game where they're trying to slow the bleeding, I think. That would be what my thoughts are on it. That they're trying to make the user interface better to retain the people that are currently using it. But we'll see what the opinions are here the next couple of weeks. Maybe next week we'll have some thoughts on it. Now, this is the bombshell of news that has come out about Facebook. And, it's coming out from the New York Times. And it's big. Everybody has fucking covered this article. I found out about it, 9th, yesterday when this was released. And I read this article and I was like, damn! And then you look at the news feeds when you type in Facebook, and it's like, break up Facebook, everyone, it's like all over the place. And the reason why this is so popular is because Chris Hughes was the dude that helped found Facebook, back in the college days with the Zuckmaster over there. And he's like, it's time to break up Facebook. And this is a long article. I'm not going to spend time reading all of it. But essentially, this is coming from the mouth of Chris Hughes. And he's saying, look, Facebook's too big. Zuckerberg's too powerful. They own too much of the market share. We've got to bust this stuff up. So let me read a couple bits of this and I'll give you the idea. So this is a segment. Mark's influence is staggering, far beyond that of anyone else in the private sector or in government. He controls 3 core communication platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, that billions of people use every day. Facebook's board works more like an advisory committee than an overseer because Mark controls about 60% of voting shares. Mark alone can decide how to configure Facebook's algorithm to determine what people see in their news feeds, what privacy settings they can use, and even which messages get delivered. He sets the rules for how to distinguish violent and incendiary speech from the merely offensive, and he can choose to shut down a competitor by acquiring, blocking, or copying it. Yeah, that's true. He basically copied Snapchat with some of the features on Instagram. He's blocked content producers like Alex Jones, shut them down, and Alex Jones isn't the only one. That's a big part about this. This is the part that gets a little bit soapboxy and political from Chris Hughes. We are a nation with a tradition of reining in monopolies. No matter how well-intentioned the leaders of these companies may be, Mark's power is unprecedented and un-American. It is time to break up Facebook. We already have the tools. We need to check the domination of Facebook. We already have the tools. We need to check the domination of Facebook. We just seem to have forgotten about them. America was built on the idea that power should not be concentrated in any one person because we are all fallible. That's why the founders created a system of checks and balances. They didn't need to foresee the rise of Facebook to understand that the threat that gargantuan companies, I couldn't read that word. They didn't need to foresee the rise of Facebook to understand the threat that gargantuan companies would pose to democracy. Jefferson and Madison were voracious readers of Adam Smith, who believed that monopolies prevent the competition that spurs innovation. that leads to economic growth. So like I said, a little bit political there, a little bit soapboxy, very left-sided, saying, look, we got to break this company up. And from an analytical perspective, I do see Chris's point here. Facebook's huge. They control a massive amount of the digital market share. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, that's like such a huge portion of the social networking tools that are out there. The other ones that exist are like Twitter, Reddit, and Twitter, Reddit, and LinkedIn. I guess you could group into that category. And Snapchat, right? That was the one I was thinking of. Yeah, but these guys, they're not the same. They're not even on the same keel as Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. WhatsApp's super big internationally, So, do we need to break them up, though? That's the question. And, I honestly, my personal opinion is that we should let the market decide. If Facebook's providing value to customers and to people between Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, they're winning. The way to break them up would be to not use their services, force the market or use the market to force their hand. Come up with something better, So Chris Hughes, come up with a better social platform that's more private and that's better, that provides more value to the market than Facebook does. Now, with that said, there's also, something to be said about actually making a social network like that work, because Facebook already has such a huge presence. They already have so much money that they can literally just dominate the market with awareness and presence. So the barrier to entry in the social networking world is so high that it's like impossible to break in. Now, if that's the case, and there's a completely unfair advantage by the grouping that is Facebook, then okay, maybe we need to have this conversation. But what I think is happening is that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of government people that just don't want Facebook to be around. They kind of use it as a political tool, and they're jumping on this whole opinion from Chris Hughes, who sounds like he's not on good terms with Zuckerberg. Although the article starts out with him talking about how he went to Zuckerberg's house, hugged his wife, and that sort of stuff. So I don't know what kind of terms they're on. I don't know why Chris Hughes would come out and be like this, inflammatory against Mark Zuckerberg. But who knows? Who knows what's going on in the upper echelon of society? We don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. How does this impact us as business people in America? We got to wait and see what's going on with Facebook. If all of a sudden they come in and start to break up Facebook, I'm not going to be a happy camper, because now I have to have what's going to happen is you're going to have different controls to advertise through Facebook and Instagram. I'm not going to have an Instagram ad network that I got to deal with, and then I got to tie that all into my analytics. It's just more work on me. It makes it harder to optimize ad campaigns. So if now we got to break this up, it makes it harder. Now, is it better for the overall society? I don't know. We'll see. If that's the case, then okay, us advertisers will just have to deal with it. But I keep saying we'll see, because we're just kind of fucking waiting. What's going to happen with Facebook, and how is this going to impact what we do as marketers? Because we spend a lot of money through Facebook. We spend a lot of time talking about organic growth and likes and follows and shares and all this stuff. So we'll see. All right, that's it. That's all the news I have for you this week. I've had a good time kicking it. I missed last week because I was traveling for business. I started traveling on Thursday. I didn't get back until Monday. And usually Thursday, Fridays when I prep a lot of this stuff, because I'm busy throughout the week. So it's like, shit, that's when I do it. So when I was traveling, I just wasn't able to do it. Now, also, I have this goal of doing 50 videos. I want to do 50 videos this year. I want to get there as fast as possible. And when I miss weeks like that, I can't do one a week. If I did one a week, I'd do 52 in a year, because there's 52 weeks. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to mix other stuff in there. So this week, I recorded a book review of the book I just read, From Poop to Gold. It's about the Harmon brothers and their squatty potty and poopery ads. And I think the book review thing is going to become something I do more often. So stay tuned for those. I want to do book reviews. I think I would like to do a video on Google Express and kind of what my opinions are of it initially. I would like to do a little deep dive into that and see. So that would be cool, a little tech dive, a little resource dive. But we'll see. We'll see what we can come up with in Chris Land. But for this week, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go drink some beers and I'm gonna hang out. It's the weekend. And I encourage you to do the same. If you're not a beer drinker, drink wine. If you're not a wine drinker, not an alcohol person, then hang out, dude. Drink some tea. You know, put the feet up. Go take a dip in the pool if it's warm enough. Or not. Just jump into the cold pool. Go for it. All right, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Instagram Live. Alien, you're the shit. And we'll see you next time.